think you're the cause of all this. I think you're evil! Evil!
Back to our old adventurous videos, because these were fun. And it's a movie called The Birds. I actually thought I watched this movie a long time ago, but it turns out I probably watched the second version of this movie and not the first. And good grief. I mean, I know this was probably the bee's knees back then, or the bird's elbows, whatever. And I can understand exactly what this movie was going for, but good grief, was it not only boring, but it was so corny, it was hilarious. So let's take a look at Alfred. Wait, what's his name? Alfred. And this movie's from 1963. Good grief. Did they have color television back then, or was this like remastered or something? I have to look that up because I always get the dates mixed up. Anyway, starting off, we have this hoity-toity woman in San Francisco, and she goes to a bird shop. And instantly, it is clear that people back then were more concerned about how they looked on camera rather than their acting skills. Or maybe acting back then was just a lower standard. Say, almost everybody else in this movie, aside from the main actress or female lead, seems loads better in their acting prowess than she does. Which makes me believe that the primary reason she was even given this role is because of her looks. Anyway, handsome man walks into the pet store, and I guess there's some history between the both of them, and she's more of a prankster. She clearly likes him with the Google eyes she's giving him, and he clearly knows more about birds than she does. But even though she is not a worker here, she kind of pretends as though she is. To what end, I don't know. When the guy comes in inquiring about lovebirds and needing one for his 11-year-old sister. So not even being an employee of the store and not knowing how to handle birds and already being called out, sort of, for her lack of knowledge about avians, she still proceeds to open the cage of one of the birds, not knowing how to handle it, so she can give it to the guy to hold. Of course, she loses the bird, and honestly, I've got to give it to this movie. A lot of what you see here seems to be green screen. I don't know if they actually had green screen back then or how it is they're doing this, but a lot of the scenes with the birds look very believable, and I think they're mixing a little bit of real life in there with some kind of overlay, because if you pause, you can see, due to the lighting and the feathered outlines of some of the birds' profile, that they're not actually there.
There we are.
Oh, there. Wonderful.
I kind of understand now why they try to remake some movies, or at least going forward, they try to make at least the female characters look as though they have some sense, except now they skew it all the way to the other extreme. But when you look at some of these old movies made at the time where they had horses and carriages and crap, all the women act like absolute idiots.
Back in your gilded cage, Melanie Daniels.
So she's all like, how do you know my name? But even back then, oh my goodness, the female character is so insufferable. She does something that causes damage to this guy's property, and she acts as though she does not owe him an explanation or that she's completely in the right. It's also clear throughout the entire movie that she's a pathological liar.
Don't you remember one of your practical jokes that resulted in the smashing of a plate glass window?
I didn't break that window.
Yes, but your little prank did. Judge should have put you behind bars.
What are you, a policeman?
Not, I'm sorry. Oh my god, I did that? Oh my god, I am so sorry. How can I make it up to you? This is literally how she is for most of the movie. And it's because she's a wealthy snob whose daddy owns some very successful newspaper print. So she literally says at some point in the movie that she has to find things to do because she's idle. And she has jobs. And most of her jobs that she claims that she only has them for a short while. And it's mainly because she's bored. While having a lady boner for Mr. Mitchell, she finds out through his license plate and asking her father's friends who this person is, and goes to his hotel or temporary home to leave the lovebirds there that he asked for. A kind man with shoeshine lips tells her the guy's not going to be here. He's off to his other home across the lake somewhere in Bodega.
Just go to the bodega. Just go to the bodega.
Then we get a long, cringy scene of her driving all the way to this area. And around this time, I'm thinking to myself, if this had been done nowadays, especially if it were a dude doing it, it would be seen as really creepy. Like, the person doesn't know you, and I know she's probably trying to make things right, but I have a feeling that's not the reason. We get a beautiful shot of her driving, and then the freaking birds that she's delivering are I guess this is supposed to be funny. Humor was really something back then, because good grief. All I kept thinking to myself was how cringe this looked. looked. And why is the freaking car floor so freaking fluffy? Sister has a whole house carpet on the bottom of her car. She doesn't even have car mats. Do you know how messy that's gonna be if she steps in mud or something? And what are those things? Are those pedals? What is she even on right now? What is she stepping on? Maybe she's stepping on the gas and that's the clutch over there in the brake, but her foot doesn't look like she's stepping on anything. I don't know, what kind of car is this? So down over here in this paradise by the sea, I swear to goodness, like what feels like a few minutes, we're just getting a shot of her fake driving in front of a screen, and it's just shots of her driving, because apparently this is revolutionary in this day and age. This looks like a step up from like the Wild West days. It's so interesting watching these movies, because it actually feels like you're going back in time. She starts asking around people for the whereabouts of this guy, and I could totally see this movie going in a completely different direction. Woman becomes stalker, and slowly makes her way towards this man who was completely unsuspecting of her being obsessed with him. So much to the point where I actually believed that she was doing this to try and get back at him or something. And everyone's so nice and trusting, even though they kind of hesitate and there's some resistance there, to just give her his information. She even asked what his little sister's name is, and the store owner's like, what was her name? Oh yeah, her name is this, and he lives over there, and you can get there by going there. You have no idea who this person is. Was there no concept of killers back then? I mean, the world was completely free and completely safe of thieves and crazy people, but I'm wearing tons of makeup and I do a Maybelline commercial. I'm wearing eyelashes. You must trust me. She meets a woman, even meets a school teacher when she questioned about the little girl's whereabouts or what her name was, because she wants to know her name so she can write it on the letter. The school teacher is also smitten by her charm, and it's clear from the way she's talking that the school teacher obviously had a thing for the little girl's big brother, aka the guy who this blonde woman is stalking.
Nice drive.
It's very beautiful.
Is that where you met Mitch?
Yes.
I guess that's where everyone meets Mitch.
Yep. Can't tell already. Somebody got dicked down and somebody got ghosted. That's the look of someone who's obviously still smitten with the person that got away, or the schlong that went to sea, whatever. So Miss Hayworth looks longingly into the distance, understanding completely that Mitch is going to be in her sweet walls, not hers, the blonde woman's, at any point now. Nobody drives all the way to the bodega because they want to see their friends or visit their family. No, they all go there. Every single woman in this movie goes there because Mitch lives there. So Stalker Woman rents a boat, and she's like, I got this. She swims all the way over to his house, and she watches Mitch say goodbye to his mother and little sister. And then, I kid you not, while he's conveniently in the barn, she breaks into his house. Break-in is one of those terms, right? But she makes sure that he's not there and opens the door, because everyone leaves their doors open for some reason. Can't even blame the guy, because he's probably not expecting some crazy broad to come across the freaking lake and go inside his house uninvited. She gets away, and she's like, yes, hope he didn't see me. Of course, when he goes back in his house, he realizes that someone was there because of the bird cage. He's looking for her, uses the binoculars as she's trying to get away, and he's like, oh my god.
Oh shit, nigga. She wants the D! Yeah!
So all thirsty like, he's like, she came all the way here to meet me. No, who am I to turn down some snatch? Here we go. He waits for her at the dock, and she's all snobby, and I swear to god, this part had me cracking up. I don't particularly like this main character for some reason. I don't know, she's kind of cringe to me. But as she's sitting there trying not to make her face wrinkle, a seagull decides that he wants in on the action. Why that's so funny to me. It's just the randomness of it, and it's the way it took the guy time to react. And she's like, oh no, ketchup's falling out of my skull. Her blood looks like a condiment. Maybe makeup wasn't so well back then either. Anyway, since she's leaking hot pepper, he takes her inside and feels sorry for her. Maybe that's what you get for stalking people. But it's supposed to be sweet because she went all that way to make things better and to give him the lovebirds that he wanted. I don't like her face. Like, I know it sounds bad, but you know who she reminds me of, which is supremely annoying? It's Cersei with that resting bitch smug face. It's so annoying.
Whether you believe it, myself, I have always had a hard time trusting eunuchs.
I've changed my mind. Let him go. You asked them here.
It was expected of me, as it will be of you if you ever become Joffrey's queen.
My father once told
Nobody cares.
I don't serve your brother, Your Grace.
But you love him.
She has that same thing going on. I don't know what it is about it, but it's freaking aggravating.
Yes.
Why does everyone back then talk like that? They'd be speaking and someone asks them a question. Yes. Is the director telling her to hold her facial expression in one specific type of emote for the entire movie? Because that's how she looks. Even when she's supposed to be pretending she's scared, it's not believable at all. But then again, you know, I will say this probably was for the time. Although, when you watch British movies and African and Indian movies of the same time period, I hate to say this, but they're loads better. Maybe because they actually care about portraying the character. I shouldn't say that, never mind. Mom is the only one I really believe the most in this movie, because when she lays eyes on this girl and she realizes, oh boy, it's another one of his bitches, and she knows exactly who this person is, and she probably knows that this person is not good for her boy, I believe the looks that are coming off of her. Every time she looks at this woman is exactly how I feel about her. Probably not a good match. I can't get over how this woman just lies about everything. She lied and said she was staying with this woman, Miss Hayworth, which she wasn't, and only goes afterward to ask if she could stay there because this woman is conveniently renting a room. What if she had said no? And it's something that the dude automatically registers as uncomfortable given their history. He lied about her initial reason for her visit. I mean, I get that she's trying to play hard to get, but then she involves everyone else in her deception, which only makes her seem excessively desperate. Anyway, she's invited over to dinner despite the mother really not wanting her there. She also gets to meet the little sister, who's very happy that she got the birds. Of course, she continues lying to this guy. And honestly, it's a whole bunch of nonsense. It doesn't really matter. Because around this point, I'm wondering one very important thing. One question to trump them all. This movie's almost 2 hours, and we are almost at the hour mark. And aside from the seagull, where are the birds? This movie has successfully wasted so much time. The characters talking about how they wanted to sleep with Mitch and who wanted to sleep with him when. And then here and there you'll get these weird things happening, like the bird slamming into their door, and them wondering, what's the matter? What's happening? And it's only for the next day at the kid's birthday party that things really start to take off.
You need a mother's care, my child.
Not my mother's.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry for what? Our daddy taught us not to be ashamed of our dicks.
What have you got to be sorry about?
They all sound as though they're practicing at home for the first time with their lines. They're watching themselves in the mirror and they don't know how to act, but yet this is the final product. I don't know, maybe it was a product of this time, but it's still baffling. It's interesting to see how far we've come. He has some interesting ears.
No, I think it's better to be loved.
My mother, don't waste your time. She ditched us when I was 11 and ran off with some hotel man in the East.
Maybe because of you, bro. Apparently this is supposed to make us feel sorry for her. That's why she goes around pranking people and doing things and then lying about it. So all this money that she has because of her dad, she just uses it, and instead of making the world better or providing for people who probably don't have a family, she goes around being careless or just trying to find random things to do but not sticking with any one thing.
Well, maybe I ought to go join the other children.
Okay, calm down the sarcasm. You do act like a child, so maybe you should.
Look! Look! Hey!
I like how everyone in the background is just smiling. Look like creepy kids from Stephen King's movies. Why do all of the birds sound like a sped up dolphin having intercourse with a cat? They all sound like that, no matter what the species of birds. But you know what I will say? Regardless of this freaking movie being made in ancient Stone Ages, it's still loads better than that crap that we got in Birdemic. I did a review about that. I almost went insane. I will encourage you, watch that movie on your own before reading reviews about it, because good grief. I guess do the children's arms and legs no longer work when a bird's on top of them? I mean, seriously? I hate movies that do this. Like, they're trying to not move so the animatronic or whatever they're using isn't given away. But it's no different than the foolishness that we get in The Walking Dead when people are getting bitten and they forget that they can use their hands and legs to try and run away.
Everybody knows it is. There's some who likes to stand.
So all hell breaks loose, seagulls attack and crash the kids' party, and now everyone is visibly scared, except for old Banana Face over here.
Last night, what do you mean?
A gull smashed in Danny's front door. Mitch, what's happening?
Why would you think he knows? He's asking you. Anyway, the birds got people shaken up, and so they all decide to have some tea and some supper together. Now that they're inside, nothing else can hurt them until they go outside, and they still have to deal with whatever comes with that. They're locked up in this house now. How are they going to be walking and going about their day if there are birds out there attacking them from above? I mean, the concept is pretty ridiculous, and I completely get it. I think this movie was trying to take itself seriously. I'm pretty sure in a situation like this, it would be completely plausible for birds to come down and kill people. But as the movie progresses, it just gets extremely preposterous and nonsensical. Like, at this point, I would strongly suggest and theorize that this movie was intentionally made as a comedy.
They're those lovebirds, Mitch.
It's not supposed to be funny, but it's freaking hilarious. I don't know why. It just... After their hectic circus-filled night, they call the cops and the cops don't do anything because for all he knows, this could have just been a fluke. Next morning, Mitch's mother heads off to go see a friend, and boy is she in for a surprise. Turns out there's a lot of broken cups, and I'm just wondering to myself, how are the cups broken to this degree, but still hung up, every single one of them? How eerily convenient. Nobody answers, and when the mother walks into the back of the house, it's not supposed to be funny. Are we supposed to believe that birds came in through his window and pecked his eyes out? I mean, I know birds can do a lot of damage if there's a large number of them, especially if it's a significant swarm, but something about this just isn't adding up. Not only that, but it's her reaction to the whole thing. Her going in and everything playing out silently, there not being any music, there's this hint of realism to it, I get it, but her reaction thereafter is just so freaking hilarious. She does the very soft, uneasy, skeptical face very well, but then when she tries to behave as though she's scared, it just seems over-dramatized. On one hand, she nails certain parts of it, and then I remember what kind of movie I'm watching. Wow, I mean, I know some people have shock, but good grief. Seriously, what am I supposed to do with this, ma'am? Ma'am, are you choking? Ma'am, do you need help? Ma'am, what is the matter? Ma'am, where are you going? Do you want something in that mouth, ma'am? What should I do, ma'am? Ma'am, are you okay? Why is your mouth hanging open? Are you trying to ask me to do something, ma'am? Ma'am, ma'am.
Excuse me, it's ma'am. It is ma'am.
Anyway, Mama Silver comes home and she's just beside herself. Mitch and his new side piece are like, what's the matter? I don't know what happened between these two from yesterday. I'm guessing there was some off-camera cunnilingus or something going on because we go from her playing hard to get to them clearly liking each other. She spends a night at his mom's house, and then in the very next scene, in the next morning, they're acting like they're freaking married, and all of a sudden, they're like making out, which there was no lead up to this whatsoever. Like, we get that they liked each other, but when I saw this, I was honestly confused. I feel like we're missing a huge piece of information. I mean, I know this was in the old times, so obviously they're not going to show scenes with them, you know, but it was implied in many movies before this. There was no implication in this movie whatsoever of that happening. Mitch's mother keeps saying how strong she isn't and how she wishes her husband was here, and she's clearly worried about her daughter. This whole dialogue scene, a lot of the dialogue in this movie feels just very forced and uncomfortable, and the main character, the female character, does not help with this. She's not the strongest when it comes to dialogue, and honestly, she's just agonizing to listen to most of the time.
Do you think Kathy's all right?
Annie's there. She'll be all right.
I'm not like this, you know, not usually. I don't fuss and fret about my children.
She offers to go get the daughter, not noticing there's a whole bunch of crows that have gathered on the playground, not doing anything. She quickly gets Miss Hathaway and tells her that we can't panic, we must go with the children. This is how you know this is from a completely different era. This woman then starts to tell the children that they're gonna have to leave school, and all the following things that she says are things that kids would usually be happy about. But these kids look absolutely outraged. And that's what makes it hilarious.
Miss Daniels would like to see how we conduct ourselves during a fire drill. I would like you to show her how quiet and obedient you can be. We're going out of school now. I want those of you who live near...
Why are they so outraged? I mean, I understand why I never wanted to leave school because I didn't want to go home, but still. Pretty sure a lot of these kids had really good home lives, so they were fine. I feel like this scene was just because the kids needed something to say or do.
On the hill all the way to the hotel. Now, is that clear?
Oh, Hayworth, that's the woman's name. Sorry, I said Hathaway. The other thing that doesn't make sense is that Miss Hayworth and the main character over here, whose name is Melanie, and I forgot because honestly she's not that interesting, had experience with the birds attacking people. I mean, they made it a really big deal and nobody would listen to them, but they understand firsthand that these birds are dangerous. It's the whole reason why they want the kids to now go home. So what you're going to do is take the kids out of a building that's offering a fortress from these things and lead them out into the open where there's no building or school bus to transport them so that they're at the birds' mercy, which makes no freaking sense.
I want you to go as quietly as possible. Do not make a sound until I tell you to run.
So... you know, I mean, maybe in her head she thought this was a great idea or something, but you're gonna go quietly, and then you're gonna ask them to run when you say so, as if the birds don't have the ability to fly faster than humans can run. Gotcha. And then it's like they're assuring the kids that everything is gonna be fine if they follow this method.
So that was a fucking lie.
At what point did the kids go quietly here? You can immediately hear them running from outside the school. What was even the point? Melanie knew that when she went into the school, she walked quietly. She walked quietly, and it did not upset the birds. Yet, as soon as they leave the safety of the building, which is in and of itself a stupid decision, they just start stampeding, which immediately upsets the birds, as though these adults have no freaking sense whatsoever. You literally put these kids in danger. See, right after the birds hear the kids running is when they take off. And you can see that very rough cut right there. Boom. Boom, 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 boom. Interesting. Okay. Wasn't that much of a cut, but still, I noticed it. So, of course, the birds start running right after they hear the kids running because, you know, that plan that we all talked about right before we came outside, let's just toss that out the window with the bird shit, why don't we? So, of course, everyone's running for their freaking lives, and the birds are attacking the kids, and they're all crying because, you know, the adults made this happen to them. They just keep running as birds are trying to mate with them or something. I mean, this is just absolute pandemonium, and it's kind of hilarious. This kid gets separated from the group and we never ever see him again. Like, everyone just continues running and this kid is just gone with the wind. One of the kids, I think it's the same one, ends up on the ground while everyone else is still running, and yeah, that kid's a goner. And apparently some of the birds are as heavy as freaking bowling balls that they can slam into someone and send them flying feet ahead. Is this bird made of freaking lead? Why did it collide into her and send her tossed all the way to the freaking floor sliding as though it used the force of God's fart to blow her into oblivion? She needs help, and at least some people go back to try and help her. Not the little boy though. Little boy's dead, probably. They get into a vehicle and roll up the windows, and of course there's no key, which makes me wonder if you had a car. I mean, maybe it's just me. I know there's a lot of kids. But are the women just perpetually stupid in these movies or something? Why did you not walk the kids out that could fit in your car one by one and start to lead them towards wherever? Or just stay in the car until you can get help. Or lead the birds away from the school or something. You know, try at least one of the adults to be a distraction for the birds to give the kids some time. Or at least go into town and tell people to take their vehicles if the kids are in trouble, to come and take their vehicles so they can get their freaking kids. No, I mean, they made it clear that they have phones in those days, and even though they're the freaking naval phones that you stick your finger in and you twist, they still apparently work to connect people. So why is this not a thing when it's clearly an emergency? Look at... Why do they look so angry when they're crying? Anyway, Anyway, Melanie honks the horn and the birds leave. She gets to a breakfast restaurant and tells everybody what happened, but nobody believes her. Ornithology major over here who looks like a bird herself doesn't believe her either, because birds would have no reason to do that. This is the part of the movie which I would like to call the exposition dump.
Thus saith the Lord God unto...
Shut the fuck up.
The way the army uses them.
Look!
Oh, this is the part of the movie that just gets beyond ridiculous. You're just sitting there wondering what the frick you're watching, as if this movie is supposed to be a stand-in for another movie blockbuster that was supposed to be taken seriously. You know, maybe people were getting attacked by freaking rabid bats, but this time someone was like, you know, that movie did well, but we can't just rip off their idea. I don't know, let's make it birds. Also, what in the world? I hope that doesn't mean $33. Because aren't things supposed to be cheaper back then? Unless they mean 33 cents. And if that's 33... No, it can't be, because the cents is on the other side of the freaking decimal. What? What is this saying? Interesting. Face planted. Why did he fall like that? Is he okay? The bird didn't even touch him. Well, even before this, people were starting to believe her story, even though others were taking it with a grain of feather, salt, or juice. Why is he knocked out? Is he old? What? They didn't even do anything. What in the world, man? I had no idea that Birdemic took inspiration from something else that was arguably probably worse, or just on par with it. So of course the gas starts seeping, and oh no, this guy's lighting a cigarette and everyone's like, no! And then he gets on fire, and he didn't notice. He was standing there facing what happened, and he didn't notice this big puddle towards him. Anyway, all pandemonium breaks out, and her dumbass face is the most annoying part of all of this. It's not the bad, I can't even call it CGI, I don't know what it was back then, but whatever the freaking animation is with the birds, her face looks the most fake. Everybody else around her, you can kind of believe that they're scared and outraged when they see what's going on, when they're witnessing all the destruction before them. She just looks like somebody is throwing cotton balls at her that are wet with rosé, and she's trying to let them land in her mouth. And she's like, oh, gasp! Gasp! Like, dude, stop. Ew. Why do they cut to her face doing that? What in the world is wrong with these directors? I swear to God, no. No, 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 no. I swear, this has to be freaking comedy. This cannot be a movie. Look at her face. Does that look like someone who's scared of you? Like, what? And then it cuts, and then... I can't. And then, bro, why are your teeth shaped like that? They look like the letter V. I just can't take her seriously. I'm sorry. I don't know what the hell was with... If they had made Miss Hayworth, I think her name is, the teacher, if they had made her the main character, I would have been completely okay with this, because she's way more likable than whatever the frick this person's supposed to be doing. Somebody sucked their way to the top, because she clearly didn't get here from her acting skills. Birdemic! Oh god, this is so Birdemic. This is where Birdemic got it from. Oh my god, I can't believe this. I cannot believe this. Wow.
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 Wow. Wow. Wow. Wow. Wow.
Get your position. Back up. Back up.
So everybody gets from out of the little restaurant there, and our main character goes into a transparent version of the TARDIS. And this is where we get to see her acting skills shine in their brightest light. Because, you know, dialogue's not the best for her, and regular acting scenes don't really do it for her either. So maybe in a really high-stress situation, she'll really shine. We'll really get to see her other side. Let's see how afraid she is when faced with hundreds and thousands of birds all around her crashing into her transparent TARDIS. She looks like one of those people in those stupid commercials. now we're coming back full circle.
Imagine that!
Oh man. Oh my god. I don't know. I didn't think I would have this much of a problem watching a movie like this from the freaking Industrial Revolution, whatever. Because usually you watch stuff from about around this time. It's horror oriented, which I don't know whether or not this movie falls into, but they're at least kind of decent. This, first of all, went from 0 to 12 to 1,000, and not in a good way. But just when you think the woman is the worst actor in this entire movie, somebody steals her limelight for all but a few seconds. Oh, Lord have mercy. This movie is too freaking hilarious, man. I don't even know. People were smoking some weird hashish back then. Anyway, Mitch, her boyfriend, comes and takes her back into the restaurant, and everyone thinks she's the cause of it. Enter horrible actress number 3. I mean 2.
They said when you got here, the whole thing started.
Did they cut the camera so that they could put some sopping stuff on her face? You can tell those are not actual tears. And I know they're not actual tears because there's nothing you could say to me to make me believe that this actress is capable of showing any emotion other than just plastic.
Who are you? What are you? Where did you come from? I think you're the cause of all this.
This woman really wanted to let these few minutes shine. She was like, this is my breakout moment right here. This is what everyone is gonna remember me for. Hitchcock is gonna get all the way up in my face, and I'm gonna show him. I'm gonna make this be a legacy for everyone who comes after me and show them what good acting is like.
I think you're evil! Evil!
Ew.
I only had my shirt on.
So the birds leave. They run to the house or run to the building knowing that running triggers these things. And then they go to Miss Haythworth and find out that she's dead. She doesn't have a lot of cuts in her body, but somehow, okay. What is this paint on her face? This is clearly not blood. I know they didn't have much, but was food coloring not a thing back then? You can use food coloring and it looks a lot more realistic than this. And we don't ever see the birds actually killing anyone. I mean, how would they even do that? Anyway, they get Mitch's little sister, and Mitch puts Miss Hayworth back in her bed because Melanie doesn't want to leave her lying on the floor like that. Of course, the little girl is traumatized, and she actually does a better job than most of the adults in this movie.
When we got back from taking Michelle.
Look at the guy. Damn, she's good.
I don't know. We'll break up the furniture.
You don't know! You don't know! When will you know? When we're all dead! I got it! If only your father was here!
She's a good actor sometimes. She does the mad job very well. Who knows? She might have been like that in real life, so it came kind of naturally. But anyway, this mother just depends completely on her son and men around her in her life. She can't do anything for herself. I would say it's a society of the time, but every other woman around her, at least, is trying to take care of their children. The other thing I'm thinking is nobody ever thinks to, I don't know, make Molotov cocktails. Was that not a thing back then? Were they not aware? I mean, we have so many men there that, went to war and stuff like that. They didn't have any idea how to set birds on fire, no fireworks, guns, nothing? Did they not carry guns back then? Granted, we don't know why the birds are attacking, but I would figure somebody would at least arm themselves with knives and cutlasses or something so that they could keep the birds at bay. Even torches, for God's sakes. Nobody makes torches? No? Nothing? I mean, that's like primal survival 101. Keeping animals as far away from you as possible. Light a campfire around you so they don't want to come, and if they drop into the fire, you get barbecued bird. It's really that simple. Nobody employs any of these methods that you would see people naturally doing. It's like an instinct for humans to do. I swear, this movie is like one of those movies for infomercial people.
So mean.
Anyway, Mitch is responsible for boarding up the entire house without anybody's help. This poor man. So after the birds start making their 8-bit noises. They start breaking through pieces of the doors and biting Mitch. And everyone's freaking out, yet he is the only one going around this massive house trying to secure the area. All the useless ass women are just sitting there, just holding their freaking kneecaps. The birds seem to leave later on, and Melanie decides to go and explore. She hears a noise upstairs. She hears fluttering in the room. So, knowing that birds are on the attack, what do you do? I wonder, knowing that birds are going around and freaking killing people, if you hear wings fluttering in the room that's closed, I don't know, maybe it'd be a great idea to freaking close the door or keep it closed, but no, shit for brains over here decides that the best course of action is to open the door and go inside. So seeing that there's a hole in the roof, you go further inside the room. You go further inside the room with your mouth wide open. You just lack the ability to put 2 and 2 together that if there's a hole in the roof, the birds might have made it and they might be inside the freaking house. This is why I despise this main character. She is so freaking stupid. It makes you want to claw out your esophagus. Oh my fucking god, bro. Stop. God almighty, I freaking hate movies like this. I freaking hate them. Like, this is so dumb. This is not what I expected this was gonna be like. I'm telling you, like, this is probably not even the movie I watched, but why is she so fucking dumb? Like, it's so agonizingly, extremely cringeworthy. Like, I can't, none of it makes any freaking sense. Like, nobody, I guess people back then, in that day and age, they were smarter when it came to certain things. Nobody can tell me as a director that you looked at this and you really believe that the audience would watch this and believe that this woman was suffering from fear, debilitating fear. Okay, maybe move your goddamn body away from the door. Turn your back to them, which is the natural human inclination when faced with survival, you know, between life and death. If something is attacking you, to turn your back to it and to hold one of your hands over it and to get out. But we realize that she's one of the Darwin people. Like, she just lacks all skill to be able to survive on her own because she's a freaking Neanderthal. And that's even an insult to Neanderthals because they would have that inclination to know how to survive in a situation like this. God damn, even babies know how to survive in situations like this. What in the world is this freaking movie, bro? What is this? What is this? What is the message this movie is supposed to be? Like, I get it. I heard that Alfred Hitchcock, or whatever his name is supposed to be like some filmmaker who did like new techniques or something, but clearly making a coherent movie is not really his strong suit. I'm not even trying to be mean. I'm just literally reviewing what I'm seeing here. If he wrote the movie or directed it, if he just wrote it, sure, why not? But if he was also responsible for the direction, which I probably should figure out, whoever the director was, shame on you. This woman looks like an idiot. When I say that they don't make them like they used to, pretend this doesn't exist. This is clearly not what I'm talking about. Look how much time goes by when the birds are not even on her. She can't go outside the door. Like, look at that. For a good few seconds, there are no birds next to her. And she's like, oh no, I can't get up. Oh. These birds are so venomous. Their peens are rubbing up against me. It's so pleasurable, I can't help myself. Oh my god, what am I ever gonna do? And then she just faints. She literally just faints in the room. And then says under her breath that Mitch should get the girl out. And we're supposed to feel like, oh, she's so noble. In her last dying breath, while these birds are doing fuck all to do anything to her, she tells Mitch that he should get his family out. Now you've put him in danger, because now they're going to be looking for you when they wake up. And they're going to have to go inside this room. And nothing really is even happening with these freaking birds. I'm still wondering how it's possible for them to even kill people at this stage, when there's so many things you can use to defend yourself. Does this look like the face of somebody who's in pain?
It's Captain. Get out of here.
Oh my fucking god, bro, I can't. So of course Mitch comes to save her. The mother just stands there behind him, pulling him out because, you know, women can't do anything in these movies. They're all just useless. And she's there fighting him because she's still scared while the ketchup is adding a little bit of color to her face. And he's like, oh no, I'm so sorry. Oh, you need to go to the hospital. Unfortunately, they can't go to the hospital because all the birds are out there, and the whole rest of the world is completely oblivious to this. There are several times when they walk outside and the birds don't do anything. He's able to go to the garage, start up the car, and get back to the house if he walks very slowly. So it's clear from what we see here that the birds just don't like noise. They don't like loud movements or sudden movements. They can survive. And this person's just sitting there like, look at me. I am disheveled, yet my hair is perfectly pressed and curled as though I just came out of my makeup room. Because that's how, you know, my makeup is not a scuff on it. As a matter of fact, it was better than it was before. She doesn't want to go outside. And this is the most emotion I've seen her wear on her face since this movie has started. And there it is. The car is waiting. And there's all the suspense as to what's going to happen. They get inside the car. The birds watch them. And they just drive away. And that's the end of the movie. I swear to fucking God. Like, there's nothing. There's no resolution. There's no explanation. Is this happening around the rest of the world? This movie was just a freaking piece of rancid ass cake. You know when you've left cake sitting outside for a very long time and then you go back to eat it and you're chowing down on it and then you realize that something's not right because there's some discoloration on the edge of it and you turn the cake around and all the way on the far end there's these furry ass things that look green and it's bacteria and you've been eating that cake but it tastes so goddamn good and you can't make yourself throw up. I'm speaking from experience. That's what this felt like. It felt like a huge waste of time. What even was this? Like what is this? Why did I even watch this? God almighty, man. This movie is so aggravating. It's so aggravating. I know I shouldn't get this mad over it, but I literally felt like I wasted my time. And this was a 2-hour long movie. What business did a movie from, when is this movie from again? 1963. What business does a freaking Industrial Revolution movie have being freaking 2 hours long? Listen, I'm speaking from ignorance. But seriously, this movie was hogwash. Clearly it was not the one I watched before because I would have remembered how stupid it was. Good grief, Turtle Reef. I am so glad it's over. Now I'm gonna go see the second one because maybe that one's better. I think that one came out in what, 1990s or something. Here's for hoping we actually get some quality. Were some of the techniques good in this movie? Sure, why not? But I feel like that's just asking for the bare minimum here. Sometimes I'm so distracted by how bad and boring things were. This movie was mostly boring. Then it's hard to appreciate anything new when you see it. I wouldn't even know what those things are because I didn't live back then. So maybe you guys can tell me in the comments, but this thing was just a piece of shit. This is what B movies grandparents would be. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer. Freaking dumbass bird movie.